I still remember the exact sound of their laughter echoing through the grand hall that night. It wasn't loud at first, just a few chuckles that grew into something sharper, something that cut right through me like winter wind on the parade ground. My name is Elena Harper. For most of my life, I believed love was supposed to feel like coming home after a long deployment, safe, warm, and unbreakable. I was wrong. I grew up in a small town near Fort Liberty, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your father's rank. My dad was a retired sergeant major, tough as nails on the outside, but soft when it came to his only daughter. He taught me discipline, resilience, and how to stand tall even when the world tried to knock you down. After he passed, the Army felt like the only family I had left. That's how I met Captain Marcus Reed. He was everything a girl like me dreamed of. Tall, confident, with that easy smile that made soldiers straighten their backs and women glance twice. We met at a unit barbecue 3 years ago. I was there helping organize the event as a civilian contractor for base logistics. He was the rising star, fresh from a successful tour overseas, already being talked about for major promotions. "I've never seen anyone handle chaos quite like you," he said that first night, handing me a drink while fireworks lit up the sky. His voice was deep, steady, the kind that made you feel protected. I laughed softly. Years of practice. My dad used to say the Army runs on paperwork and prayers. Marcus grinned. Then you must be the answer to a lot of prayers. From that moment, he pursued me like a mission. Flowers on my doorstep after long days, late-night calls from the field where he'd whisper how he couldn't stop thinking about my laugh, weekend getaways to the coast where we'd walk on the beach and talk about the future. He made me feel seen, special, like I wasn't just another girl waiting for a soldier to come home. Within a year, we were engaged. The ring was simple but elegant, a solitaire diamond he said reminded him of my strength. Quiet but unbreakable, he told me one evening on his balcony, the base lights twinkling below us. I believed him. God, how I believed him. My world revolved around Marcus and the life we were building. I supported his career in every way, staying up late to help him prepare briefs, cooking meals for his team when they returned from training, even using my logistics connections to smooth over supply issues for his unit. People on base started calling me the Captain's Rock. But there were small moments I brushed aside because love makes you blind. Like the way his smile would tighten when I spoke up in front of his friends, or how he'd change the subject whenever I mentioned my own ambitions, finishing my degree in military history, or perhaps one day working as a strategic analyst. "You don't need all that, Elena," he'd say gently, kissing my forehead. "You've got me. Let me take care of you." I told myself it was protective, romantic, but deep down a quiet voice whispered that maybe I was shrinking to fit into his shadow. Still, I planned our future with all my heart. The wedding was set for next spring, a beautiful ceremony on base with full military honors. His family loved me, or at least they seemed to. His mother would squeeze my hand and say, "You're exactly what Marcus needs, someone steady, someone who knows her place." His place. My place. I ignored the sting. The night everything began to crack open was the annual Army Gala, a formal event where officers, their spouses, and dignitaries gathered to celebrate promotions and service. Marcus had just been recommended for promotion to major. He was glowing with pride as we got ready. "You look stunning," he said, adjusting my deep crimson gown in the mirror. "But maybe tone it down a little. This is my night, babe. Let's keep the focus where it belongs." I smiled and nodded, even as something inside me twisted. I chose a simpler necklace. The ballroom was breathtaking, chandeliers sparkling, tables draped in white and gold, the faint scent of polished brass and fresh flowers in the air. Officers in dress uniforms stood tall, their medals catching the light. I felt a surge of pride walking in on Marcus's arm. Until the speeches began. Marcus was called to the stage to receive recognition for leadership during a recent joint exercise. The applause was thunderous. He stood there, microphone in hand, looking every bit the hero. And then he started talking about support systems. "I couldn't have done it without the people behind me," he said, his voice warm and commanding. "My beautiful fiancée, Elena. She's been my rock, always there with a smile and a hot meal after long days. You know, some women try to compete in this world, but Elena understands her role. She lets me shine. That's real partnership." A few chuckles rippled through the crowd. Some officers nodded approvingly. A couple of wives gave me sympathetic or pitying smiles. I sat there, cheeks burning, forcing a smile while my heart hammered. Lets me shine, as if my entire existence was background noise to his spotlight. But it got worse. Later, during the mingling, one of Marcus's closest friends, Lieutenant Kyle Harlan, raised a glass in a toast at our table. "To Marcus, the future of this army, and to Elena, the perfect little wifey in training. No ego, no drama, just pure support. We need more women like you who know not to step on our boots." Laughter erupted. Real, loud laughter. Marcus joined in, squeezing my hand under the table like it was a joke we shared. I felt exposed, small, humiliated in front of hundreds of people who mattered in the world I grew up loving. I excused myself to the restroom, locking myself in a stall as tears stung my eyes. Why did that hurt so much, I thought. He loves me. He's just proud. But in the mirror, my reflection looked broken, shattered in a way no one else could see. What I didn't know that night was that the real humiliation was only beginning, and the man I loved most was about to destroy everything I thought we had. The weeks after the gala felt like walking through fog. Marcus acted like nothing had happened. He'd come home, kiss my cheek, and dive into stories about training or upcoming deployments, expecting me to listen with the same adoring eyes. But something had shifted inside me. The laughter from that night replayed in my head like a looped recording. Every "good girl" comment, every time he redirected conversations away from my ideas, it all started to stack up like sandbags before a storm. I tried talking to him once. "Marcus, at the gala, the things people said about me, about my role, it hurt." He sighed, setting down his phone. "Elena, it was a joke. Lighten up. You know how these events are, full of tradition. They respect you for supporting me. That's not a bad thing." "But what about what I want?" I asked quietly. "I have dreams too. I've been taking online courses in intelligence analysis. I could contribute more than just meals and smiles." His expression changed, that tight smile again. "Babe, the army is complicated. You don't understand the politics. Stick to what you're good at. I need you here, steady, not competing with me." Competing. That word lodged in my chest like shrapnel. I buried the pain and kept going, telling myself love required sacrifice. I helped him prepare for his promotion board, organized his files, even reached out to old family friends in high places for quiet recommendations. Then the first real crack appeared. I was at his apartment one afternoon, sorting through some documents he'd left on the desk while he was at a meeting. A folder slipped out, unmarked, but inside were emails, messages between Marcus and a woman named Captain Sophia Lang, a logistics officer in another unit. They weren't innocent. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. Your support means everything in more ways than one." Her reply: "When are you going to tell Elena? She's sweet, but she's holding you back. You need someone who matches your ambition." My hands trembled as I read more. Dates that matched times he said he was on overnight training. Gifts he claimed were for the team. Lies layered so smoothly, I almost admired the craftsmanship. The betrayal hit like an IED, sudden, deafening, leaving everything in ruins. I confronted him that evening, voice shaking but steady. "Marcus, who is Sophia?" His face went pale for half a second, then hardened into the officer mask I knew too well. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I whispered, because these emails say you've been seeing her for months, while I was planning our wedding, while I was defending you to everyone who questioned why you never introduced me properly at events. He paced, running a hand through his hair. Elena, you're overreacting. Sophia and it's professional. With benefits, maybe, but it doesn't mean anything. You're the one I'm marrying. She understands the pressure I'm under. You never could. Pressure? My voice cracked. I gave up so much for you. My time, my dreams, my pride, in front of the entire army at that gala. And this is how you repay me? Marcus stopped, looking at me with something close to pity. Look, I care about you, but let's be honest, you're not cut out for this life the way she is. You're comfortable, safe. I need someone who pushes me higher. The promotion is coming, and I can't have distractions. Distractions. That's what I had become. I left that night with nothing but my purse and the clothes on my back. I drove to a cheap motel off base, curled up on the stiff bed and cried until there were no tears left. The pain was raw. Confusion, anger, a helplessness that made me feel like the naive girl everyone had laughed at. But in the quiet hours before dawn, something else stirred. A spark. Not rage exactly, but clarity. I wasn't going to crumble. Not this time. The next few months were a blur of quiet investigation and inner rebuilding. I used my logistics access, carefully, legally, to piece together the full picture. Marcus hadn't just cheated, he'd been using my connections, my father's old network, and even some of my savings, which I'd foolishly put in a joint account for our future, to fund favors and cover tracks with Sophia. Worse, rumors were spreading on base that I was unstable and jealous, planted subtly by Marcus and his inner circle. Friends I thought I had started distancing themselves. Invitations dried up. I felt isolated, broken, but every night I whispered to myself, they don't know who I really am. Because while Marcus saw me as background support, I had been listening, learning. My online courses weren't just hobbies. I had earned certifications in military intelligence and data analysis. Quietly, I had built a small freelance network helping retired officers with strategic consulting. And I had one ace I had never played, my father's legacy. Before he died, he had mentored a now brigadier general who owed him everything. I reached out discreetly. The more I uncovered, the stronger I felt. The pain didn't disappear, but it transformed into fuel. I stopped crying and started planning. Until everything changed the day I received the official invitation. Marcus and Sophia were hosting an engagement party, barely 6 months after our breakup. It was to be a grand affair on base, with senior officers invited. The theme? Honoring true partnership in service. The irony burned. But this was my moment, not for screaming or scenes, but for truth. I accepted the invitation under a different name, using my mother's maiden name for the RSVP. They wouldn't suspect a thing. As the date approached, I prepared with the precision of a mission briefing. I gathered irrefutable evidence, copied emails, financial trails, even anonymous statements from soldiers who had witnessed inappropriate conduct during joint operations. I wasn't going to destroy him with violence or scandal that could tarnish the uniform. No, my revenge would be cleaner, more devastating. I would expose the lie in front of the very army he used to humiliate me. The night of the engagement party arrived like a final formation. The venue was the same grand hall where the gala had been held, poetic in its own cruel way. Chandeliers glowed, uniforms gleamed, and laughter filled the air once more. I walked in wearing a tailored black dress, elegant, powerful, nothing like the supportive crimson from before. My hair was swept up, and on my lapel was a small pin my father had given me years ago, a quiet symbol of service and honor. No one recognized me at first. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, listening to toasts praising Marcus's integrity and Sophia's brilliant career. Marcus looked confident, arm around Sophia, smiling that hero smile. Then the program began. Speeches, more praise. I waited for the right moment, when the microphone was open for well wishes from guests. I stepped forward, heart steady for the first time in months. "Excuse me," I said calmly into the mic, my voice carried clearly through the hall. "I'd like to offer a few words on partnership and truth." The room quieted. Marcus's eyes locked on mine. Recognition hit him like a slap. Sophia's smile froze. "Many of you know me as Elena Harper," I continued, voice even but laced with quiet strength. "Some of you laughed when Captain Reed spoke about my role at the last gala. Some of you believed the rumors that followed our breakup, that I was jealous, unstable, not worthy of this life." I paused, letting the silence build. "Tonight, I'm not here for bitterness. I'm here for clarity, because true partnership in the Army, in any life, is built on honesty, not convenience." I pulled out a small tablet from my clutch and connected it to the projector they had set up for photo montages. The screen lit up with the first email, then another. Dates, times, transfers of funds from our joint account to cover discrete trips. Screenshots of messages where Marcus described me as comfortable but limited. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Officers shifted uncomfortably. A senior colonel frowned deeply. Marcus stepped forward. "Elena, this is inappropriate. This is a private matter." "No," I said firmly, but without raising my voice. "This became public the moment you humiliated me in front of this very room, the moment you used your rank and charm to paint me as lesser while breaking every oath of loyalty." Sophia looked pale, glancing around for support that wasn't coming. I continued, projecting more evidence, nothing fabricated, only truth. I could have gone louder, I could have made this uglier, but that's not who I am. Instead, I'm asking this room, this army that raised me, to see clearly. Leadership isn't about stepping on others to rise, it's about integrity when no one is watching. The brigadier general I had quietly informed weeks earlier stood up from the head table. His voice cut through the tension like a command. "Captain Reed, Captain Lang, my office, now. The rest of you, continue with dignity." The party didn't end in chaos. It ended in heavy, uncomfortable silence as Marcus and Sophia were escorted out quietly. No dramatic arrest, just the slow, crushing weight of accountability. Investigations would follow, promotions paused, reputations tarnished by their own choices. I didn't gloat. I simply nodded to a few familiar faces who now looked at me with new respect, and walked out with my head high. In the months that followed, justice moved at military speed, deliberate and thorough. Marcus received a formal reprimand and was passed over for promotion. Sophia faced reassignment. Their relationship didn't survive the scrutiny. I didn't need to watch their fall to feel peace. Instead, I thrived. I completed my advanced certifications and accepted a position as a strategic intelligence analyst, a role where my quiet strengths finally had room to shine. I rebuilt my life on my own terms, surrounded by people who valued my mind as much as my heart. Some nights I still think about that laughter from the gala. It doesn't sting anymore. It reminds me how far I've come. I finally understood, sometimes the strongest revenge isn't loud or destructive. It's rising quietly, rebuilding with grace, and living a life so full of purpose that those who tried to dim your light can only watch from the shadows. The Army didn't break me. The betrayal didn't define me. I did, and I made them pay by becoming unstoppable. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been underestimated or betrayed by someone you trusted, remember this: your light is yours to protect. Never let anyone steal it. What would you have done in my place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe for more emotional journeys of resilience and quiet justice. Until next time, stay strong.